Hello, it's Teresa here from South East London. I hope you're all keeping well. Unfortunately, I don't seem to be getting a list of subscribers anymore like I used to. I think once you pass a certain number of subscribers, you stop getting notifications. So there aren't any names to read out, and I really enjoyed doing that. However, there is one name to read out that I picked up on a message. I'm not sure where it was actually, but it's Louise Buller. Louise and her son watch the videos together, so I want to say a really big hello to Louise's son. But I'm so thrilled that you're watching all these videos, and I expect to see some really great pieces of work from you on our Facebook page. So it's nice to know that you're watching, and thank you for that, Louise. That really was nice to know. But back to today. Oh, can I just say thank you as well to all the new subscribers to the Facebook group. The Facebook group is taking off nicely. It's a bit slow, but then it's brand new. So, and thank you for everyone who is actually contributing, and I really appreciate it. I'm having a ball of a time, and I'm really enjoying it. Today's project is a little bit different. This is our inspiration for design. I bought this a couple of years ago in Bath in the UK, and I brought it home and I framed it. I added the frame, and it's been hanging in my bathroom ever since. Now, as you can see, it says here the Roman baths in Bath. And Bath is a city in England, and it's in the county of Somerset, and it's really beautiful. It's got a wonderful cathedral, but it also has Roman built baths, which is where the name came from, Bath. Now, this is a very small detail in the baths, the Roman baths, and on the back of the postcard I'll read out what it says. It's the Roman baths, Bath. This is known as the Gorgon's head. This fierce image of a water god once looked on all who entered the precinct of the temple of Sulis Minerva. Now, there's a little bit of discussion that goes on around this head about whether it really is a Gorgon, because in Greek mythology there were 3 Gorgons, and one of them was Medusa. And if you remember, Medusa had the snakes for her hair. It's been said that Gorgon is only a female creature, not a male creature. Now, I can't get into this discussion because it's way over my head. Now, I think this looks very much like a man's face. Now, apparently these are snakes and not hair, which seems to be giving confusion as to whether this is a man or if it's female. I think it looks like a man. I don't even think these look like snakes. To me, that just looks like hair. Now, when I first saw this and I didn't know anything about it, I thought it was the Green Man, the forest god of fertility. So when I found out it wasn't the Green Man, I was really surprised. That is a potted story of this. So we're still none the wiser as to whether it's a Gorgon or not. But what I'm going to do now is just take you through the process of how I got from this to the finished piece. It went to the sketch. So I sketched this. So I've gone round it a little bit so you can see it on the screen. So I did this to get the hang of the shapes and the areas of dark and light. And it does give you a real feel. I was quite pleased with how I did the eyes because they were difficult to do. But at no time when I did this, and I just researched it a little bit, did I think of these as being snakes. Although there is a piece here, and it would be that piece there that could be a snake's tail, I'm not sure. Then I decided I didn't want to destroy this, so I made a photocopy of it. So that's the photocopy. I didn't want to destroy this either, I wanted this for reference, so I made another one. So that is the photocopy, and on this one, I worked out the areas that I'm going to do. Oops. This outline here, this red or orange outline around there, is going to be the background fabric for this piece, and this piece will go on this piece here, which will actually be the whole background. Then I'll apply this shape here, this irregular shape all the way around, and I got that by just going above the points, from point to point to point to point, and I've ended up with this shape. From there I will then, so that is number one, so then number two is to place the areas of dark and light. So at the moment I'm going to do this with two pieces of fabric, a dark piece and a lighter piece, and possibly join them along here. Now this, I'm just thinking aloud at the moment. It's likely, shut up there, be quiet. It's likely to change. So number three, the face. I'm going to do the face separately, and then the hair. At this point I've got a couple of ways I could do this. I could do the face and the hair as one shape, and then apply the round shape onto this shape, or I can do them individually and then apply this last. So there's a couple of ideas here that I need to work out, and then the last thing to do would be the hair. Now I could do this freehand in stitchery, slow stitch, and all the other stitches that we've used, or I can cut this out as one shape and sew over them. You all know how to cut out, so I won't bore you with my cutting out skills, but all I'm going to do is cut all the way around there. That's the shape now that I'm left with. Figure out whether I'm going to cut all the way around these. So I'm going off now to choose some fabric and decide how I'm going to do this. I found this, and it's practically the right size for the calico. I've got the calico there, and I'll interface the back of this to give it a nice bit of stiffening, and then I'll attach it to the calico. But can you see the sheen on there? There's a gold thread that runs right the way through it, giving it this lovely satiny effect, and there's a nice texture on here as well. This was a donation, and you can see the back's lovely as well. But this is the plan at the moment, so that is what I'll do. I'll interface this, and then I shall tack it to the calico. Now for the actual head, for the back, sorry, not the head, for the whole background shape here, I will do it in dark and light, areas of dark and light. But I came across this. This is a gorgeous piece of fabric, and this is beautiful. Now look at these threads here. Now these threads will be useful for when I've cut out what I want, to strand these as I go, as I need them and as I go along, and use them as sewing thread. They're quite strong, so there really is no need to rush out and buy threads. If you have a look at what you've got and what you can use, you'll be surprised. At one time I would have spent a fortune on gold threads when I was using a lot of gold. I would have spent an absolute fortune. But hey, look, why not use these? Free. And that's good. We don't want to spend our precious money or our hard-earned money on things that we can make ourselves. The top half will be light and the bottom darker, just like here. Top half light, the negative shapes here will be light, and the negative shapes here will be dark. We'll see, we'll see. So that is as far as I've got. Now I'm going to cut this shape out and I'll get back to you as soon as I've done that. Is make a fold from here to there so I get all the lighter areas. I'm including this in the light areas, these little grey pieces, and I'm going to fold it there. So that is now going to be light. So I will just fold that back out of the way and place it, I should place it there, saving some material as I go. Just pin it down. Just going to pin it all the way. That piece there can just come over or under. What I'll do is I'll just fold that under like so. Pin that down. Now this fabric's going to fray, so it will need to be interfaced to stop it fraying. If I think it's going to fray too much after I've cut it out, then I might just do a very small zigzag around the edge, but I'm hoping that I don't have to do that. One more pin should do this. Right, so that's the dark area all pinned down, and I'm just going to cut this out. Lovely. So that's the first half in the dark fabric. Now I'm just going to take the pins out, set that over there, and now we want this part in the back, the reverse of that. So let's just pop that down. This will be easy. If I pop that over there, I want to uncrease that. Pop that there. Like. There we go, and that is that piece now. So these can come off, the pins can come out. We still have our pattern, if you like, our template intact, so that can go over there. Where's the other piece? So that was the light part, and this is the dark part. There we go. Now this will be interfaced as well because it's very flimsy and it's very, very frayable around these edges. So I'm going to interface those. I still need to interface this and join that to the calico, and then that will be placed on top. Oops, wrong way round. That will be placed on top like that. There we go. Might have to trim. I should just probably trim just some of these little areas here. It wouldn't really matter if I didn't, but I'd feel a bit happier trimming those off. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going off now to put the interfacing on this piece and on these, and then I'll attach this background to the backing, and then I will possibly tack this in place as well. So what's going to be 2 seconds for you will be half an hour, and a coffee for me. Yes, I haven't had a coffee now for an hour. I'll be dehydrating at this rate, so I'll be back very, very shortly. Now I have a bit of a dilemma. Can anyone see what I've done wrong? I'll put that there. Can you see what's happened? I've placed it down the wrong way round, so that is now that way instead of that way. But it doesn't matter, because what I'll do, I'll just reverse this as I go along, so we'll still get the same effect. The only difference will be that these high pieces of hair here, these high points, will be that side instead of this side. But look at that, how stupid. What happened, and this is my defense and I'm sticking to it, my doorbell went, and I answered that, and by the time I'd had a chit chat, come back upstairs to the flat, made coffee, I started doing this, thinking of something else, and of course, look, I did it wrong. But it doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. As you can see, I've still got areas here of dark and light. They're just switched around the other way, that's all. But a bigger dilemma than that. Now, I was planning on doing the hair in this and cutting out the shape for the hair and then applying the face on, I think. But one of my lovely daughter-in-laws, I have two. One's the mother of my 2-year-old granddaughter, and one is going to be the mother of my grandson in November. So and these are gorgeous girls and I love them to death. They're just lovely. But one of them is into textiles very much, and I get her odds and ends and her offcuts and all sorts of goodies. She's given me these. Now I have probably 4 or 5 of these. Now, can anyone see? Think Frida Kahlo. Remember our project on Frida Kahlo? Think Frida. Can you see? I'll give you a second. Ta-da! Look at this. You see these? What does it remind you of? I'm wondering if I can use these. Look, I have another one there, a little bit there, and as I say, I have about maybe 3 or 4 of these. They're in different, they've all got these leaves, but they've got different backgrounds. This one has pineapple and this like check fabric. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's stretchy as well. And this one has, they all have a pineapple, and this one has, I don't know if that's jasmine or some exotic flower. This one has flowers and a yellow background, but the common thing is these, I don't know what these are. Perhaps someone will recognise those and let me know. But I just thought, look at this. So it's changed my plans just a little bit. I still like the dark and light shining through. So I'm now going to spend some time, and I'm going to cut some of these out, and I might even interface them at this stage, because I think it's looking pretty good. Probably have to do these different, but I'll have a look anyway. I'm just hoping that there's enough room there to get them. Yeah, there'd be enough room at the edges, but I'll see how that goes. I'm going to cut some of these out. I'll probably also cut out the original plan and choose from those. But that is down nice and firm now. They're all down nice and firm and ready to go, but I'm not sure at this stage what go is or where it is, so I'm going to just spend a little bit of time having a look and playing around. I decided to go with these. I think they look far nicer than that fabric that I showed you earlier on, and they're so easy to do as well. Now if you haven't got fabric like this, it's no problem, you can cut your own. They're just elongated triangles, that's all, so you don't have to go to any trouble. Just zigzag up and down as long and as wide as you want. Very, very simple. Now what I've used on these, I cut them out roughly just into their basic shapes like so, and I've actually placed this on a bonder web, and it's the sort that you get that you use an iron, and there's a plastic like filament layer there, a layer of plastic that melts. Well, it's like plastic, it melts onto the back here, and then you take this off like so, and you can see here that is like the filament this that goes sticky when this is hot. Then you place that down on your fabric and that'd be ironed. But why I've used this is because I have a lot of small thin areas here, and this bonder web, iron on bonder web here, it just makes it really nice to work with, more so than the iron on violin. And if I show you this, look, it's just so lovely like so, and you get nice crisp non-frayable edges. So that is how I have done these. I've already done these. Now I haven't actually taken the bonder web off yet because I don't know where I'm going to place them, but I will do to these exactly as I did to this one. Just remove the white backing here, remove the white backing, you're left with that. Place this where you want it, or take the backing off, I should say, take the backing off, place that where you want it, and press it with a nice hot iron. I pressed it under the backing from the wonder web. I placed it under the iron and pressed it just to make sure that I didn't burn it. So I'm going to place these all the way around the edge. I still want the area of dark and light, so the yellow ones are going to be where the light area is. And don't forget, I've reversed it all, so the light area on this is now at the bottom. So this will be placed like so, and I'd like to keep some of these negative shapes here. You see the dark areas and the negative shapes. I'd like to keep some of those, so as I place these I might possibly trim some areas away and place them with these gaps, or overlap them and get some really nice shapes in between, and these will go where the dark areas are. Now these are just roughly, I need to spend time doing this properly. So once I know exactly where they're going to go, I will press them. I'll take the backing off and I'll press them all in place. That also cuts out the tacking. You don't have to worry about tacking when you use that. So that will go somehow like this, and then the face I drew round this, got the face, you see the face there, and then the face will go over the centre bit there, and then once that's either tacked down or one, I might not use this iron on web for this because this is going to be very thick, so I might do this with the iron on violin and the way that we usually do it, tack it and then sew across it. So that is how it's going to look, but I can see on the screen that I do need to spend some time placing these leaves around there. Let me have a look here. So we do get the characteristics pointy bits here. Some of them are curly, a bit wavy. But they're even like fingers, aren't they? I reckon you could even use your fingers. You could draw around your hands or your fingers and use fingers like that all the way round. So I'm going to spend some time now arranging these, taking the backing off, placing them down and then pressing them into position. I think I might try getting the face on as well. I'm not too sure about the face, whether to leave the face right until the end and put the details on before I put it in place. I see how it goes. It normally takes its own way, as we know. Oh, that's, see these shapes here? I like these shapes. The background is shining through, poking through there. So that's going to keep me busy for, I reckon, a good couple of hours, and then we'll see how far it's got. These have been bonded down now, no tacking at all. It's all been using the Bonder web. Don't really know how I feel about it, but it's quick and it's easy. But it's not the same as tacking. But anyway, it's all in place and it's all really firm. I'm wondering how this needle will go through all this, because it isn't something that I use routinely for this type of work. But couldn't find the iron-on interfacing, so I've had to use this really. The face here is applied. That's going to be applique, and I've cut out the face from here, and it goes round about there. So that is how the face should look, and it might actually look better in white than in that. This is, I'll enlarge that a little bit so you can see the fabric here. It's black and gold. I don't think I'm going to get that no, I'll lift that up like that. See, it's black and gold there. It's the same colours, although it's different fabric as these, the background there. Now, as you can see by looking at this, I have kept some of the shapes here and here, the dark areas, like the shapes that I intended to keep all around here. I've kept them here. They're not the same shape because of the nature of these, not the same shape, but I still have got the shapes between the hair or the snakes, whatever you'd like to call them. So that's as far as I am. The next thing I'm going to do is start the stitching. Now, as normally I start as well by thinking about adding dimension, depth with the nets, normally the black net or the navy blue net, but I'm not sure about adding it to this because we already have a lot of dark areas here that's giving a depth. You can see it's giving a dark background effect and a raised front. So I don't know that by adding net I'm going to be adding anything, but I will have a look and see if I do need a little bit of net here and there. That will be strange not using net as well. So for me, this project is quite a new way of doing things. But the face will be done last. I need to think about these whiskery bits here, the bits that came down here almost like a moustache, and up here. I need to get the eyes, think about the eyes as well, but for the time being that'll all fall into place. But for the time being I'm now going to think about the sewing. Obviously I'm going to use the slow stitch, a running stitch, some herringbone as well. I think will look nice on some of these, maybe some chain. I need some texture on here now because it is very flat. There's no You can hear that there's no texture there, it's just one texture, it's just flat. So I need to introduce some texture through the sewing. Okay, so I'll get on with that. I'll make a start, and once I do an area I'll get back to you and show you. Made a start with the running stitch here, the slow stitch here. I'm just going to lift this up and show you how far I've got. I haven't got that far really, just this small area here. So I'm using 3 strands of thread in a nice long sharp needle. It's got a very sharp point there, but it's going in and out of the fabric lovely. I'll just show you how I'm doing this. Now I'm ignoring the blue at the moment, these blue pieces, and I'm just concentrating on the gold. So all this is, it's the regular stitch. Let me make this just a little bit bigger. I'm not going to demonstrate this stitch because everybody knows this now. It is just the running stitch, and it's just in and across, in and out. And if you've got a really nice needle, you can pick up several pieces of fabric at the same time and make several stitches. Now, although I've only done a tiny piece, I can see it's going to take quite a while to do, but it is so relaxing. I need to go out shopping, and I've made a start with this, and now I feel too relaxed to go out, but I really have to. So after I've done these couple of stitches here, see, look, I'm carrying on. I only wanted to show you 1 or 2. So I'm really going to stop here. She lied. Right, I'm going to stop there, and you can see how quick it is to do. It's a very quick stitch to do, but because I have so many spiky hair bits, it's going to take quite a while. So I think I'll be taking this away to Birmingham this weekend. I'm going up there for a couple of days. I love Birmingham, and I think I'll be taking this again and doing this in the hotel. So anyway, that's as far as I've got. I'm going to carry on now with these, and I'll get back to you as it grows, and you can see the shape it's taking. So that's it then. I'm not too sure about the blue, what I'm doing with the blue, but I'll work that out as I go along. And as you know, it normally all falls into place. I'll make that smaller just so you can see. There we go, back to small. Now what I have decided, or I'm thinking about doing, like, this is how it's intended to go. So it's that way up. So this bit here, the blue bit, will actually be on the top of the head. But I've played around and I've had it hanging on the wall for a couple of hours, and I think that blue bit would actually make a nicer beardy bits. I think now that will be from the original design here. That would actually be back to front. You can see that here because I made a mistake. Back to front, and it will be upside down, because the right way should be, well, that is it, back to front, because I made a mistake. So I've completely changed it now. It's upside down and back to front. But anyway, I like this, I think, at the bottom. But we'll see how it all pans out. But meanwhile, I'm going to leave that there and go off shopping. I might just finish that bit and then go shopping, we'll see. But if I do that, I just won't get out. So I didn't go out shopping after all. I stayed in and did the slow stitching all around the spikes, the hair. I've used 3 strands of gold thread on the lighter colours and 3 strands of dark blue on here. I haven't touched these blue areas yet because I'm not quite sure how to do them. Now I'm just going to pop that there so you can get the full effect. There you go. And there's our original inspiration. So it's not a million miles away from this one, is it? But we don't ever want an exact copy, otherwise that defeats the point of doing our art and craft. So the next thing I'm going to do is think about this, but also start sewing here, and I will probably start with herringbone stitch, maybe introduce a couple of stitches as well. Don't intend doing them all at the moment, but you know, it takes its own way. Once I do one, it affects the other, and that affects the other. So it's really hard to say how this is going to pan out. But I'm going to hang it on the wall now overnight. It's 11:15 night time. Hang it on the wall until the morning, and then I'll have a look with some fresh eyes. Well, I hope my eyes will be fresh anyway. So I've had another look at the picture, and I've decided, before I get too far with this, that I'd like to make this area, the darker area, a little bit darker. So it's in direct contrast, one of our design principles, with the top bit, the brighter, lighter area. So I thought maybe I could do that with stitching, and then I thought, no. Why change the habits of a lifetime? So I've gone back to the net, and I think at the moment this is what I will possibly use, just to make that a little bit darker, give that a little bit more dimension, because it's still very flat, even though I've now put only one row of running stitch around it. So I looked at the picture again, and it's this area here that is the dark bit. So from the face across here, the rest of it is dark, under the nose and round the beard. Cut out that shape there. Here I should trim that. If you can see that, it follows this line around here, but it doesn't matter about that at the moment, because I'm probably going to strand it anyway and not leave it as one solid shape. So I just cut that off there, so that will go round about there. Let's have a look. So that is the face, well, from the other photocopying. I want those little pieces, because these pieces here that came off this may possibly go here, fit here somewhere for these dark areas. So those are very precious. I'm going to pop those to one side. So the face, the dark area there under the nose, so that would be about right. Now, as I said, that would be a bit too solid if I just pop that there. That might be a bit too solid. I'd like some more shapes here. I like these shapes, so I thought what I will do, I'll go back to the backing from these, and I have a couple of these, put them on one side if you remember. Now I think this one, it looks like it's the backing from that piece there, because it, well, it must be, because it matches lovely. So I'd like that shape, this shape round here, only in the lace, oh sorry, the net. So what I'm going to do, just pop that out of the way for a minute. The easiest way to do this, I find, is on a sheet of scrap paper like I have here. Now I'm going to put that down there. Now it is white on white, but you can still see it. Not so much that way, but on the background you can still see that, see the shape. Now you could draw around it, but because these are so fine here, it's going to be very difficult to actually hold it down and draw around it. So the easiest way I find is just to open it up like so now, and pop that over the top, like that. Pin this down. Where are we? Let's scatter the pins. the ones I want haven't come out, the ones with a nice big heads. Right, I'm just going to pin this down in some places, and then I should cut around it. And you, as you can see, I hope on the screen, let me make that just a little bit bigger. As you can see on the screen, you can actually see the white shape. There we go. You can see the white shape there quite clearly. So just to hold it down, just those pins there. And now I'm going to cut around the V shapes, the nice pointed shapes here. They don't even have to be exact. And there we are. You see these lovely pointy shapes here? Just going to take the pins out, and there we have the nice shape here, which is echoing the shapes on the hair. So let's see what this looks like. I'm just going to put that down right under the nose, so the nose is roughly there. Right. Oh, it's sticking to my nail varnish. Oh, perhaps I should have let it dry first. So that's the where that nose is, just approximately. So let's have a look at that. Oh yes, yeah. I'll make that a little bit smaller so you can see that. Right, now I think I might like to bring this down actually onto some of the white background. I might like some points around about here, just to make some nice shapes around about there. Yes. It's looking a little bit different, and as I look on the screen now, the net is giving the piece of work a shaded area. These pieces here look like a shadow, and I like that. What I did, I tacked down the shape here. I elongated some of these spikes, and I cut away a little bit more net so you can see the colour. I didn't want too much colour poking through, but I think that's just enough. I looked at it and I thought, no, it still didn't look right, so I cut out another shape from here, the same shape that I did before. So I cut that out in net, and then I cut it in two, and I placed one part there and one here, and I've pinned those down, and I think that is what it needed. I also took away the straight line. It seemed to be, there was a straight line going across here, and I didn't like that, so all I've done is follow the line of some of these shapes here, round there and around there. Now because I had to pull it down, I pulled the net down to get the nice dark areas on this white fabric. This has now slipped, so I will have to add a little bit more net here, so I get that dark effect that is under the nose. I'm going to tack all the way around the net, just clipping from one to the other to the other. I'm not going around each piece individually, because oh my gosh, that would just be so soul destroying. So tacking's all been done now, all along here. Some of these little pointy bits at the end I've just left, and I can sew those down as I go along. Now if you haven't got any fabric with this sort of design on it, and I imagine very few people have got fabric like this, to be honest. I was just lucky to acquire it, but if you wanted to do this and you think, oh, how am I going to do that, don't worry, you're not excluded, because all you need to do, find a piece of fabric in the colour that you want your work to be in, like the blue here, put some iron-on Violin or some of this iron-on Bonder web which I won't be using again, but I've used that now. So put some of that on there, and if I were you, I'd go for iron on I say violin, I mean interfacing. Violin's the brand name, isn't it? So that's all that is. Imagine that's iron on interfacing, which it is actually. Draw some spikes, just like so here, just like the head. Draw some spikes, although you might not want spikes, you might want them round. So you're just going to draw them on the back like that and just cut them out. And that is all you're going to do to get your spikes. There you go. And you end up with two. Let me get some white paper. You end up with two pieces. And there's your spikes for the hair, and then you can just trim it around here however you want it, and take some of that away, and there you go. So you've made your own spikes just like this. Now another way that you could do this is actually drawing, if you wanted the snake effect, you could draw around your fingers and do exactly the same there. These are my stubby chubby fingers, like that. All I did was draw around them, and there you go. So you can still do this even though you might not have the same fabric. Oh crikey, look at those fingers, they're like sausages. Maybe if you've got nice elegant fingers you could do this, but if you have fingers like I have, sausage fingers, then maybe you won't want to do that. Yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. I might cut this piece out. But this, I think, is a nice effect. Oh, actually, having said, oh my goodness, look at that. Ooh, I quite like that. Oh, you might be seeing this again. So there's food for thought for you. So I suggest you give it a try. Maybe I should have done that in the beginning. So I'm going to introduce a new stitch. Is a raised chain band, and it's, if I can turn it that way, you can see it is, as it sounds, raised, so there's lots of texture going on there. Now I've used wool on this so you can see it. I'm going to make this bigger. It was quite difficult doing this one because the wool kept stranding. That is why I changed colour, but it's a nice effect. It was a nice effect till then, and then I met a fault in the wool, unfortunately, and it's not quite as it should be there. But if you can see the colours here, two colours, and that, I think that's worked really well. A light pink or a lilac and the dark blue, and that is obviously just one colour. But I'm going to do, as always, an exaggerated demonstration with the big needle and 4 strands of wool. Now this might take a little bit of time because this is likely to strand as well. Now unfortunately I'm sitting on the side, so I'm going to try and do it from the side. I'm sitting looking at it this way, but the camera is that way. So anyway, I'm going to have a go. First of all, you put down a foundation row of stitches. Excuse me, I'm just going to see if I can. I thought I'd made that as big as, right, so let's backtrack a little bit. First of all, you put down a foundation row of stitches here, and that is just like this. Now once, where should I do it? I'll do it here at the widest part. Once again, this is exaggerated. Now I've put a big knot in the back just to stop it pulling through. So let's make it really big so you can see it. So the first foundation stitch is there. Lovely. And then I'm going to, on this fabric, I'm just going to, oh, see, because this is a really open weave, you can see what's happening. The needle is inclined to fall out, and it's easy to pull the thread so it holds, but it doesn't matter. See here. Now if you were doing this on a fine fabric, you'd have these foundation stitches about an 1/8 of an inch, so they're quite narrow. That seems to be the standard width, 1/8 of an inch. But you'll find as time progresses that we don't actually stick to the rules, as you know. Those of you who've been doing this for quite a while now, you know we make up our own rules. But it's always nice when you're learning a stitch to learn it properly, correctly I should say, not properly. So I think this will be enough tram lines. Now when you do learn this, you learn that you space them evenly, but as I say, because we do the textiles as an art and we're about texture, we do what we want. We're inspired by the stitch, but we can change it. So there we go, foundation stitches. Just going to secure it off here nice and tight so they don't undo. So just run it through. Actually, while I was doing this, the examples, I thought, oh, just feel like weaving through them. It's ideal for weaving, but I won't do that yet. So there we go. Now there's the black, and that, in case you're wondering why that's hanging, that is just to size the frame. So I've had to undo it for the thick fabric, but with a finer fabric I would wind that up to make the frame a little bit tighter, a bit smaller. So there we go, the foundation stitches. Now we call this the top. That's the top. So exactly the same arrangement as with the black. Big nice needle, nice big eye to take 4 strands of wool and a big knot in there so don't pull it through. So find the center and you come through from the top. Now once again, as I say, this is all exaggerated so you can see it from the top. Now, oh sorry, right, this is so difficult at this angle. Right, now over the line, over the stitch there, and then keep your thumb on the thread so it doesn't knot. Under, okay, so thumb down, keeping that nice and tight, needle under to the left there, and very very gently now pull that through so it doesn't knot. And you would do this no matter how fine your thread is. Right, so there we go. Now loop that down, and we're going to do a chain. So over to the right side like so. So you've gone under, now you're coming this way, you've gone up, under and up, now you're coming under and down. And there we go, that's the first chain. And then we're going to repeat that. See that stranded there, and it's making it look just a little bit messy, so let's just straighten that up a little bit so you can see it properly. Right, so we're going to do that again this side. Oh, I think it's easier this way with the frame directly under the camera and me not holding the frame. Right, so with your fingers or your thumb, you're going to have to hold the thread down, going to put the needle left side again underneath, so underneath, and pull it, still holding the thread so it doesn't knot. You can put your finger in there now, that way, and then pull that down again, hold that, and then you take the needle, the right side now, right side of the center, and pull it, still holding the thread so it doesn't knot. And this wool is a little rascal. Yeah, it's got a mind of its own. There we go, taking shape. And this is what we're going to do all the way down over our foundations. Oops. Under. I mean, once you're doing it with something finer, you'll get into the hang of it, and it is an easy stitch to do, and it has a lovely effect. So we went under on the left, now we're going under and up on the left, and then we're coming down underneath on the right. Here we go. Repeat it again on the left, under. You see that? And that is your raised chain band. And you can see what a lovely stitch that is. That is really lovely. So I am going to do this finer on some of those spikes. So that is the first stitch that we're going to do, a new stitch. The second stitch we're going to look at is fly stitch, and this is a lovely stitch as well. Now I don't know if you can see on the screen, but here I've just marked out 2 lines here, parallel lines, and that's just to help me keep it straight. But this is how to do it correctly. But you know how it goes. This will probably be the only time you see me do this stitch correctly. So the first thing to do is to bring out the needle at the top left here. And once again, this is awkward because I am facing that way. Right, so I'll bring out the needle here at top left. Nice knot in the back. I'm going to just hold that, secure my finger there, in case I pull the knot through these large open weave spaces. Now I'm going to hold it down with the left thumb. No, I can't do that. Right, hold it down with the left thumb and bring it along here in line with where it went in. So we're going to bring it along here, still holding this thread down there. Right, and now down here between the two, we're going to bring the needle out here. Now this is beginning to look a little bit like chain stitch, isn't it? So along like that, and there is the V, that's a V, and then we're just going to make a little stitch as long as you want it. It's up to you how long you want your stitch, and that is the first fly stitch. So we go up again. Now you can have them individually, single, one here, one there, here, or you can have them in a row. If you want them in the row, you bring it out here and you do that stitch again. So you come through the left, hold the thread down with your thumb, then you space it as wide or as narrow as you want it, still holding this down, and then in between like so, nice V, and then in line with that, if you're going to do a nice row, and there's your second one. So I'm now going to use one of our new stitches. I'm going to use the fly stitch. I'm going to start on that spike there with a nice pale blue. So what I'll do, in from the back to the left, top left, just as in the demonstration, over to the right, holding the thread down, and I want quite a nice stitch, so I'll bring it out there. There is the V, make a little leg there. I'm going to make these single stitches, and there's the first one. So bring it over again from the left, thumb down on the thread, over there to the right, hold it down, bring it here. Now these stitches will get bigger as they follow the shape of the spike. So as we go towards the base, the wide base, which is wider than the top, the stitches will get bigger to reflect the size of that spike. And I really don't know what to call that. Hair. I mean, we know they're leaves, but is it hair, or should I call them spikes? Anyway, this one's going to be quite a big one. There we go, the way to the end. This is a nice stitch to do, and some of these, like that last one, there's enough space between these to even do perhaps another stitch in between, something like a French knot. So there we go. That's the first one. I'm not too keen on that because I think I've pulled that too tight, so I might just loosen that up a bit. But that's the first one. Yes, I like that effect. Now I'm going to carry on, and I'm not going to do all the blues like that. I'm going to vary where I do the stitch. So each of these, well, as many as I'm going to do, I might leave some plain, so we get the design principle of patterned against the plain. So the stitches I'll be using now will be this, the raised band, the other stitch we're going to do, and the usual ones. So I'm going to make, this is how far I've got with the lower half, the darker half. I've used muted colours down here, so they're all a little bit on the dull side, nothing bright. I'm keeping the bright colours for up here. Now I have made this larger just so you can see this piece here. You don't need to see the top at the moment because nothing's changed since the last time you saw it. So the stitches I've used here, I've used chain stitch there and in other places there as well. I've also used our new stitch, fly stitch, which I was looking at. Got some there, and I believe there's some over here. My goodness, they're all just blending in at the moment. We've got a nice row of fly stitch there. Our old faithful feather stitch is all over the place, as you can see, and a herringbone stitch. So two of my very favourite stitches. I've been a bit indulgent here with the feather stitch and the herringbone stitch. Now I haven't used our other new stitch, the raised chain band, yet. I might save that until last to see where I can put that in, because the raised chain band is quite it makes quite a statement, so I think I might leave that. I've got a rough idea where I will pop it in, but I'm not doing that yet. I've deliberately left some of these areas here. Let me pull that up and you can see. Look, I've left some of these areas here unstitched, and that is to make the contrast. Be quiet up there, I'm talking. That's to make the contrast between the heavily sewn here and the lighter areas, the freer areas, or the plain, shall we say. So we have a lot of contrast going here. The texture is coming on nicely. Now I do keep popping the face on to make sure I'm not losing the overall look. Right, I'm just going to make this smaller. I keep popping the face back, as I was about to say, to make sure that I'm not actually losing the look of the hair. And I don't think I am. It would be so easy just to end up with a mess of stitches and a plique. Now I don't think I can get away with using any more stitches on here, because I'll start getting the effects that I'm talking about, the mess of stitches that don't mean anything. I mean, lovely texture, but don't really mean or say anything. At the moment, you can still, the eye still follows you down here, and you're still following down here and round here. So your eye is still following the nice line. I think if I put any more on, I'm going to lose that. So I shall leave that there. And of course, I've left these areas here as well. So you see these big dark areas. I've left those to add dimension. So this is as far as I've got at the moment. I'm now about to start up here. And believe it or not, this isn't taking any time at all. It's so nice and easy to do. Before you know it, you've done several of these spiky hair bits. Still not sure what to call them. Several of these. But it's so funny though, because having said about the snakes, while I've done some of these, like here and here, I've got the feeling that they could be snakes. Now I know they're not, but because they're curly and there's a little bit of rhythm, almost a muscular type of rhythm to it, I've been doing these thinking, hey, hang on a minute, I don't know if I'm doing snakes here, but I know I'm not. I think we discussed that earlier. No, not snakes. It was Medusa that had the snakes, and only Medusa, apparently. So I'm now going to carry on, straighten him up. Now going to carry on and continue. Well, not continue, but start around here. And I'm going to stick to these colours at the moment. Okay, so I'll be back shortly, and it should be looking finished. Well, apart from the face, should be on its way to being finished anyway. So I've made a start on the bright colours at the top. I've used chain stitch, fly stitch, running stitch, some herringbone there, herringbone, more fly stitch, a herringbone, and I've carried on with the regular stitches, more fly stitch there. I'm not sure if that has really come out on the screen. Now I'm going to carry on like this all the way round until I join up here. It's all finished now. The sewing along here has been finished. That was already finished, so I'm going to call the hair finished. Maybe put some beads or French knots on it later on, but not at the moment. I'll just make this a little bit bigger. I'll zoom in so you can see. Oh gosh, I didn't know it went that big. Heavens. Right, so there we go. Is it a little bit more? No. Right, so what have I done here? I've used the same stitches as I've used at the bottom. Up here I introduced the raised chain band, and if you can see it here and here, it's a beautiful stitch, and some down there and here. I'll just lift that up, and it's a gorgeous stitch. This actually reminds me of like fishbone, the inside of a fish, you know, the fish bone. And it is a lovely stitch, and I think I'd forgotten how nice it was, but I think I might start using that again. So it is really worth the effort of persevering with it. It's quite easy once you get the knack. It's a knack. There's a fly stitch, our second new stitch. Got fly stitches here as well. Feather stitch. It is mostly feather stitch, fly stitch, herringbone, the raised band, the raised chain band. There is some chain as well. It's chain stitch here, if you can see at the side there, chain stitch there and chain stitch here, and all this has produced a lovely texture. Right, well, let's listen to our texture. So it's a lovely texture. My nails have been cut, so they're quite short. So that is finished. I've cut out just a couple of faces to play with, because I'm really not sure how to do these faces, or what I want. If I want stitchery on them, or do I want to keep this, use that? Do I want to put a applique on them? So there's quite a lot of things that we can actually do with this face. So I'm going to have a play around with these, cut some out. Why I've got so many is that I intend to cut bits out, just to see, do I want to cut the eyes out and have the black showing through? Do I want to cut the white out and have these black areas here? There's, as I say, there's numerous things I can do. At the moment, I'm quite favouring a applique in that. I've got some white felt here because I like that effect, the white and the black. But when I've put the white on here, it's not working so well. I don't think white is actually going to work on there. So I might stick to this sort of colour. It's a cream colour. I have some choices here. I have this. This is actually a vintage not a doily. I think these might be called a chairbacks or antimacassars. I'm not sure. I know they have a name. My mum used to love these. She had these on all her chairs. Any old chairback, right, should have one of those on there. So I like this colour. It's a beige, a nice beige colour. So I'm going to try this colour shape there. And of course I have the iron-on interfacing to stiffen it up. In cross stitch just around the edge here. I'll hold it up and maybe you can see them. You see them at the edge, just round here, and they go all the way around. So I chose a colour from here, a colour that I'd already used, so it would just blend in and not be too in your face. So I'm quite pleased with that. So that is all done. That's finished. Now the next thing was to look at the face. Right, just to make that a little bit smaller, was to look at the face. And I spent a little bit of time playing around, including cutting this out, the black bits here, those bits there were from here, and it looked a bit spooky. It started taking on a really peculiar look, so I thought, no, before I go any further, that isn't going to work. So I've decided that I'm not going to cut out any areas. I'm going to keep it in this, and I've made a start, and I've just drafted out, loosely sketched the details on here, and I'm going to apply surface stitchery to it. I think that's the best way to do it, like so. It's interfaced on the back to give it a little bit of stretch and to stop it fraying, and then I will apply this on top. I might have to loosely mount this on another piece of fabric, even something as light as a piece of net, just so I have a bit more fabric to play with around the edges, or I might be able just to sew it without doing that. So there we go. So the stitches I'll use on here will probably be very limited, maybe just 2 running stitch, slow stitch, some back stitch. I'm just going to start with an area, or I'm going to start with the eyes and then take it from there and see how it naturally grows. It'll grow. So I've made a start with the face. I've done the eyes and I've started the nose. The outline of the nose is not finished yet, and I'm also outlining the mouth as well, this part of the mouth here. The stitches that I've used so far are whipped running stitch. That's the whipped running stitch here. Satin stitch in these darker areas here and there and there. French knots in the eyes and back stitch. So no big shapes there, all stitches that we've done anyway. Now to get these dark areas, what I'm going to use is some net, and I shall fold the net for the darkness that I want, and I think that will be better than trying to do this in stitchery. I would have done satin stitch on these areas, but I've gone right off that idea because at the moment it's looking very heavy, it's looking very dark, and I think to do these darker areas it's going to lose something. It's going to lose something of the original face, although we don't want it exact. We do want to maintain some of the characteristics of it. So I've made a start with the shading here and these dark pieces here and here, and if you can see, they're following the pattern around there. And all I did to do this was with my little scraps of net and one pin, I've just placed a pin over the area that I want and literally just cut around it with a very fine pair of scissors, and these are actually my embroidery scissors, so I shall pay for this later when I come to use them. And I'm just cutting out the shape that I want, which is the nose shape here, around here, and if it needs refining then that's easy enough to do. So all the way around the dark shape. So here we have the shape here, or is it, yeah, so I'm going to take away the white. Oh, it's come off there. So just take away the white. I don't need the white, that's the lips there. Right, there's a bit more white there that I'll trim off. Right, let's just check that bit goes up there. So let's just marry these up here. That's the way, and then that will go there. And if I need to trim any off, then I'll do that while I'm actually sewing it round. So that'll be the next piece. And if you can see this shape here, there it is, round there. As I said, there's a little bit of white there that I need to just take away here. So that's so here we are. This is how far I've got now. The face is finished. I'm not sure about putting the moustache on like here, or whether I will leave it as it is, but it's quite a good likeness. Oops, let's try that one. I think it's quite a good likeness. The lips aren't totally the same. I tried to get them looking like this, but that was the best I can do at the moment. The eyes, spookily enough, has that effect of following you around the room, and that was really weird. My daughter came in and said, "Oh Mum, that is really spooky," because I had that suspended on the wall and she thought it was spooky, and I wasn't going to say anything, but it is quite a spooky look. But having said all that, the next thing to do is to now attach it onto the back, and I will probably do that with herringbone stitch. I'm not sure about adding beads between on some of this. I don't know yet. I can't make any decisions yet until this is on and I hang it up and see if it just needs a final something. So I've changed the mouth. I've given it more definition, and I added a bit more net, so it's now got a little bit of dimension there, a little bit of depth. I appliqued the head in place, and I've done that with a reverse blanket stitch. If you can remember, we did that on our last project, and the previous one I think it was introduced, and in between the gaps didn't know whether to weave them. Then I thought, no, I'm going to just put French knots in each one. And I think that is possibly all I did there. I don't think I've done anything else. But then I started thinking about the moustache here, and I felt it needed a moustache. I went back to the original, the stone. Well, actually I went onto the website, the Bath website, to see if I could find the picture, the photograph of this in situ, so to speak, and I had a look, and yeah, the moustache is prominent. So I played around with a few ideas. I went back to our Frida idea with using the leaf shapes, and these, which are leaf shapes, and I even backed them, I interfaced them, and I started to play about with a few leaves. Now, I had this hanging on the wall for a couple of hours, and someone came in and looked at it, and without going into details, you might be able to guess what was said about these and the nose, and it would make them look different. So I got rid of those, and I cut out similar in this lovely big leaf here. I cut out two smaller ones, and I can't find them on the table. No, they're not there. Anyway, I did cut out two from this, and I still couldn't get the effect. And I've got these here prepared to cut out, and I cut out a couple of darker ones, and in the end I put it back on the wall, and I thought, I'm leaving it like this. I'm not adding anything else to the face. This is where the moustache should go, and I think at a distance it actually does take on the look of a moustache, so I'm leaving that. I'm just going to give you a quick refresher on the French knots. Now, French knots are in the two refresher booklets, and the video, I'll put the video in the blurb in at the start of the video. So French knots, once again, exaggerated so you can see it. Exaggerated needle, big needle there, wool as well, and some open weave fabric here, which was intended for this, but I didn't use. So I'm going to come through the back here, right the way through, pull it tightly. Then I'm going to just hold the thread like so, and then twist it, twist the needle round, and then back at the side of where you came through. Don't go through the same hole, because you risk pulling it right the way through. This is a very difficult fabric to do this on. And there you go, and there's your French knot. So I'll do that again, in through the back, like so. Going to turn it, twist the needle around the thread, like so. Back in at the side. Still holding down that thread there so it doesn't make a knot in the thread. And there you go. And there's your French knot. Right, I'm going to do one more, but in case that wasn't on the screen. Right, in through the back. Hold the thread, and you're going to twist the needle like so, back in at the side and down, still holding on to that thread there with your thumb, and then just pull it through, and there you go. 3 French knots. And as you can see, one went wrong there. And I have 2 more there. So if you don't hold your thread down, this is what's likely to happen. It loops and it knots before you pull it through. So think of those, and not that one, but that is to show you what will happen. Okay, so just a refresher, but as I said, they are in our stitches booklet. And here's the finished piece. I added some beads around here. I've only put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've only put 9 strands of beads around here, just to highlight it, to pick out bits. I'm not sure if you can see that, but just to pick out little bits and just give it a bit more life. Now I haven't mounted it because I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, so I've just put it on the board and I've just covered that up just so you get an idea of what it will look like as a picture. But as I said, I don't know how I'm going to use it yet. That is the whole lot, the whole picture, and that is with the frame. So with the frame I do miss a little bit around here, but that, as I said, that is just really for your benefit, so you can see how it will look framed. Now the beads, those of you who part of the Facebook group will possibly remember the story of me buying these in a pound shop along the high street, coasters, and unpicking them. And that's what I did. They were quite easy to unpick because they're just on wire. I just snipped the wire and along here, and they just fell to pieces, and they're a really nice quality bead as well. So that is what the beads are here. So well and truly finished. I'll make that a little bit bigger, and perhaps you can see the beads. You can see the beads now here with the light shining on them around there, and that's done. So we've gone quite a long way from the initial inspiration, which is this. So from initial inspiration, from the Roma baths in Bath, to that. I'm quite pleased now. I didn't put the moustache on, so well, I'm quite pleased with that. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you'll have a go at doing it. Didn't take too long, and it's really enjoyable. I'm going to lift that. I'll leave that with you like that, I think, because then you can see the whole lot. So as I say, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for following right the way through to the end, and I'll be with you shortly. I have another project on the go already, so hopefully I'll get that out within the next week or so. Okay, but I'll speak to you all on Facebook, so take care, and I'll see you shortly.